They forgot the day I was born. Not a text, not a call, nothing. But the second their car broke down, suddenly I mattered again. Suddenly I wasn't their daughter, they made me their bank account. $10,000. That's what they asked for, like I was some ATM they could withdraw from whenever convenient. For 32 years. I'd been the invisible child, the one who paid but never counted. Well, not anymore. They wanted money. They were about to pay a price they never saw coming. My name is Hannah Reynolds, and I should have known better than to expect anything different. The morning light filtered through my apartment windows in Cedar Falls, Colorado, casting long shadows across the hardwood floors I'd saved 2 years to afford. It was March 15th, my 32nd birthday, and the silence was deafening. Not the peaceful kind of quiet that comes with mountain mornings, but the hollow, expectant silence of a phone that refuses to ring. I sat at my small kitchen table, hands wrapped around a coffee mug that had long since gone cold, staring at the black screen of my phone. 7:30 a.m. Nothing. 8:15 a.m. Still nothing. By 9:45 a.m. I'd checked my messages 17 times, each swipe down revealing the same empty inbox that felt like a punch to the gut. No happy birthday, sweetheart. No missed calls with voicemails of off-key singing. No texts with balloon emojis or cake pictures. Nothing from Mom. Nothing from Dad. Not even a Facebook notification from my younger brother Ethan, who usually remembered everyone's birthday with the help of social media reminders. I built my life here in Cedar Falls deliberately, carefully, like constructing a fortress brick by brick. After college, while Ethan moved back into our childhood bedroom in Denver, I drove 3 hours north and started over. No family connections to lean on, no safety net except the one I wove myself. I found work at Riverstone Consulting, analyzing market trends for small businesses. I rented this one-bedroom apartment with its view of the Rockies. I learned to cook for one, to fix my own leaky faucets, to be my own emergency contact. For 8 years, I'd been independent, self-sufficient, proud of it, even. But birthdays had always been the exception, the one day when I still felt like someone's daughter, when I still mattered in the family constellation I'd grown up believing I belonged to. The sunlight crept across my living room floor as the morning stretched on, illuminating dust motes that danced and settled like my hopes. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe they were busy. Maybe Mom was planning something special and wanted to surprise me. Maybe Dad was dealing with work stress again. Maybe Ethan was caught up in his latest gaming marathon and lost track of time. But deep down, in the place where childhood wounds never quite heal, I knew the truth. They'd forgotten. Completely. Utterly forgotten the day I came into this world. I walked to my bathroom mirror and stared at my reflection. 32 years old. Same dark brown hair as Mom. Same stubborn chin as Dad. Same green eyes that Ethan and I shared. I looked like them, carried their DNA, their features, their blood. But apparently, I didn't carry their thoughts or their love, at least not enough to warrant remembering the most basic fact about me. The apartment felt smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in with the weight of realization. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't busy schedules or forgotten calendar notifications. This was being erased, slowly and completely, from the family narrative. I was the daughter who'd moved away, who'd chosen independence over dependence, who'd stopped calling every Sunday and visiting every holiday. In their minds, I'd made my choice to be separate, so why should they remember to include me? I thought about the last time I'd spoken to them 2 months ago, when Dad had called asking for help with his medical bills after his knee surgery. $800 I'd transferred without question, money that came from my emergency fund, from the vacation I'd been planning to take. He'd promised to pay me back when things got better, the same promise I'd heard dozens of times over the years. The phone sat silent on my kitchen counter, a black rectangle that might as well have been a tombstone marking the death of my expectations. I picked it up, thumb hovering over Mom's contact. I could call them. I could remind them. I could say, "Hey, it's my birthday," and listen to their rushed apologies, their promises to make it up to me. But something cold and final settled in my chest. Why should I have to remind my own parents that I exist? Why should I be the one to beg for the most basic acknowledgement of my life? The coffee in my mug had formed a film on top, bitter and forgotten like the daughter they'd left behind. I poured it down the sink and watched the brown liquid swirl away, carrying with it the last remnants of the girl who still believed her family loved her enough to remember she was born. Outside my window, Cedar Falls was waking up. People were starting their days, making plans, celebrating things that mattered to them. And somewhere, 3 hours south in Denver, my parents were probably drinking their own morning coffee, reading their newspapers, planning their day without a single thought of me. The silence stretched on, filling every corner of my apartment, every space in my heart that I'd saved for them. And in that silence, something new was born. Not hope, not forgiveness, not understanding. Clarity. By 10:30 a.m., I was dressed and walking through downtown Cedar Falls, my running shoes hitting the pavement in a rhythm that matched my heartbeat. This was my world now, the world I'd built with my own hands, brick by stubborn brick. The coffee shop on Main Street knew my order medium dark roast. No cream, no sugar. The barista, Marcus, always asked about my weekend plans, remembered that I preferred the corner table by the window. Real human connection, the kind that didn't require blood relation or shared DNA, just two people who saw each other as worth remembering. Birthday today, I told him, testing the words out loud for the first time. No way, happy birthday. His smile was genuine, warm. Coffee's on the house, and hey, the book club meets tonight if you want to celebrate with us. We're discussing The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This was what I'd built in Cedar Falls, a life where people noticed me, where my presence or absence mattered. The Cedar Falls Book Club, which met every Tuesday at 7 p.m. in the community center. The running group that gathered Saturday mornings at Riverside Park. The co-workers at Riverstone Consulting who asked about my weekends and actually listened to the answers. I walked to work, taking the long route past the historic district where Victorian houses stood like proud sentinels, their wraparound porches decorated with hanging baskets I secretly envied. My apartment was small, but it was mine. Every piece of furniture chosen carefully, every wall color debated and decided. The navy blue accent wall in my bedroom, the vintage reading chair I'd found at an estate sale, the herb garden on my tiny balcony where basil and rosemary grew in mismatched pots. At Riverstone Consulting, my desk faced a window that looked out over the mountains. I'd earned this view, this position, this respect. When I started here 5 years ago, I was just another analyst with a business degree and determination. Now I was senior market research coordinator, the person small business owners called when they needed to understand their competition, their market, their future. "Morning, Hannah," called Jessica from the next cubicle over, ready for the Morrison presentation at 2 p.m. I'd spent weeks analyzing foot traffic patterns for their potential new restaurant location. The data told a story of opportunity, of growth, of success waiting to happen. This was what I did. I helped people build things, create futures, make dreams real, and I was good at it. During my lunch break, I sat in Riverside Park with a sandwich from the deli down the street. The March air was crisp but not bitter, carrying the promise of spring in the mountains. Families were scattered across the grass, children playing on swings while parents watched from benches. Normal families who probably remembered birthdays, who gathered for Sunday dinners, who called just to check in. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through social media. My co-workers had posted pictures from last night's team dinner. The book club had shared photos from their Valentine's Day potluck, an event I'd helped organize, bringing homemade bread that everyone raved about. My running group had tagged me in a photo from last weekend's 5-mile loop around the lake. This was my life. Real, tangible, meaningful. I had friends who invited me to things, who missed me when I wasn't there, who celebrated my successes and supported me through difficulties. When I'd gotten food poisoning last winter, Jessica had brought me soup. When my car needed new brakes, Marcus had recommended his mechanic and given me a ride to work for 3 days. But still, as I sat there surrounded by the life I'd chosen, there was that hollow space. The family-shaped hole that no amount of friendship or professional success could fill. I'd built something beautiful here in Cedar Falls, but it couldn't completely silence the voice that whispered, "If your own parents don't remember you exist, what does that say about who you really are?" My phone buzzed. For one heart-stopping moment, I thought maybe finally someone from home had remembered, but it was just a notification from my bank app, reminding me that my automatic savings transfer had gone through. Another $50 moved from checking to savings, part of the financial discipline that had allowed me to build this independent life. I looked at my account balance and felt that familiar mix of pride and loneliness. $32,000 in savings, emergency fund built, retirement contributions maxed out, no credit card debt. I lived below my means, drove my 12-year-old Honda Civic until it begged for mercy, shopped at thrift stores and farmers markets. I'd learned to be financially independent because I'd learned early that I couldn't count on anyone else. The afternoon presentation went well. Mr. Morrison and his wife listened intently as I walked them through the demographic analysis, the competitor assessment, the projected revenue streams. They shook my hand afterward and said they'd never seen such thorough research. They were going to move forward with the restaurant, confident in their decision because of my work. Walking home at 6:15 p.m., I passed the community center where book club would meet in 45 minutes. I could go. I could surround myself with people who knew my name, who'd wish me happy birthday, who'd make me feel less alone. But the weight of the day's silence felt too heavy to carry into a room full of cheerful literary discussion. Instead, I went home to my carefully curated apartment and made dinner for one. Salmon with herbs from my balcony garden, rice pilaf, steamed broccoli. I ate at my small dining table, looking out at the mountains that had become my backdrop, my constant companions. This was my world. I'd built it carefully, deliberately, without help from anyone who shared my last name. It was good. This life. It was enough. But as the sun set behind the peaks and my apartment grew dark, I couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how much I built, how much I accomplished, how many friends I made, I would always be the daughter who wasn't worth remembering. The child who'd been forgotten on the day that should matter most. The silence from Denver felt like a weight I'd carry forever. A constant reminder that the people who should love me most had found it remarkably easy to forget I was alive. A week passed. 7 days of normal life work. Book club, a Saturday morning run with the group, Sunday meal prep in my quiet kitchen. 7 days where I almost convinced myself that maybe it was better this way. Maybe family silence was preferable to family drama. Maybe independence meant never expecting anything from the people who'd given me life but had forgotten to give me love. Then the email arrived. It was Thursday morning, 11:25 a.m., and I was reviewing quarterly reports when my personal email chimed. The sender's name made my stomach drop. Richard Reynolds, my father. The subject line was worse. Urgent financial assistance needed. No. How are you? No. Sorry we missed your birthday. Just the kind of subject line you'd send to a bank or a loan company. I stared at the screen for a full minute before clicking it open. Hannah, hope you're doing well up there in Colorado. Your mother and I are reaching out because we're in a bit of a situation. Our Cadillac SUV broke down last week. Transmission went out completely, along with some other issues. The repair estimate came back at $10,000, which is more than we can handle right now with your father's reduced hours and my medical expenses. We know you've always been responsible with money and have done well for yourself. Would you be able to help us out with the repair costs? We can discuss payment arrangements if needed. Though, as you know, things have been tight since your father's knee surgery. Please let us know as soon as possible. We're essentially stranded without the vehicle. Thanks. Mom and Dad, I read it 3 times. Each pass making my hands shake harder. The casual tone, the assumption that I'd just hand over $10,000. the complete absence of any acknowledgement that they'd forgotten my existence just 7 days earlier. But most of all, the way they'd signed it Mom and Dad, as if they were still playing those roles in my life, as if they'd earned those titles through something other than biology. $10,000. That was nearly a third of my savings, money I'd scraped together by living in a tiny apartment, driving a car held together by prayer and stubbornness, buying generic groceries and shopping at secondhand stores, money that represented security, independence, the ability to handle my own emergencies without asking anyone for help. My phone rang. Unknown Denver number. But I knew who it was before I answered. "Hi, sweetheart." Mom's voice was bright, cheerful, the same tone she used when calling to ask me to donate to her church fundraiser or remind me about Ethan's graduation. "Did you get our email? I hope we didn't catch you at a bad time." "I got it." My voice sounded strange, hollow. "Oh, good. I was worried it might have gone to your spam folder. You know how technology can be?" She laughed, a sound that once would have warmed me but now felt like fingernails on glass. "Anyway, we're really in a bind here. The mechanic says the SUV is basically undrivable, and you know how much we depend on that car. Your father needs it for work, and I have my doctor appointments." She kept talking, painting a picture of their desperation, their need, their assumption that I would solve their problems. Not once did she ask how I was doing. Not once did she mention that we hadn't spoken in 2 months. Not once did she acknowledge that 7 days ago I'd turned 32 years old and they'd let the day pass without a word. "Mom," I interrupted, "it's been a week." "A week since what, honey?" The casualness of her confusion hit me like a physical blow. "Since my birthday, March 15th. I turned 32. A pause. A long, telling pause where I could almost hear her mental calendar flipping, her memory scrambling to catch up. Oh my goodness. Hannah, I'm so sorry. Your father and I have been so stressed about the car situation and with everything going on." "You know how scattered we've been lately. We absolutely intended to call, but you didn't." "Well, no, but..." "You didn't call. You didn't text. You didn't even send a Facebook message. But the second you need money, suddenly you remember I exist." Her voice shifted, taking on that defensive edge I remembered from childhood arguments. "That's not fair. Hannah, we've had a lot going on, and we're not asking for charity here. We said we could work out payment arrangements." Payment arrangements. Like I was a creditor instead of their daughter. "How much?" I asked quietly. "How much what?" "How much have I already given you over the years? How much of my money have you taken?" Another pause. "Hannah, that's... We've always been grateful for your help. You know that. And when we could pay you back, we did. When was the last time you paid me back?" "Mom." Silence. I walked to my laptop, fingers flying over the keys as I pulled up my banking records, my personal finance spreadsheet. Because I keep track. Mom. I keep track of everything. $800 for Dad's knee surgery in January. $1,200 for Ethan's car insurance when his rates went up. $2,000 for your emergency dental work last summer. $1,500 when you said the mortgage payment was going to be late. $3,000 for Ethan's last semester of college when his student loan fell through. My voice grew stronger with each number, each reminder of their demands and my compliance. Should I keep going because I can? I have records going back 8 years. Every emergency, every temporary situation, every promise to pay me back that somehow got forgotten along with my birthday. Hannah Marie Reynolds. Her voice was sharp now, using my full name like I was still a child being scolded. "I don't appreciate this attitude. We're your family. Family helps family, and we're not asking for a handout. We're asking for help during a difficult time." "Family," I repeated, tasting the word like poison. "Family remembers birthdays. Mom. Family calls just to check in. Family doesn't only contact you when they need money." "We do call. When? When was the last time you called just to talk?" When was the last time you asked about my job, my life, my happiness? When was the last time you treated me like a daughter instead of a bank account? The silence stretched between us, filled with 32 years of misplaced priorities and conditional love. "I think you're being very unfair," she said finally, "and frankly, very selfish. We raised you, fed you, put you through college." I put myself through college. Mom, I worked 3 jobs and took out loans. You and Dad were too busy paying for Ethan's everything to help with my tuition. That's not how I remember it. That's because you don't remember anything about me unless it involves me giving you money. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I declined the call. It rang again. Declined. By the 4th attempt, I turned it off completely. I sat in my office at Riverstone Consulting, surrounded by the professional life I'd built, the respect I'd earned, the independence I'd fought for. And I realized that my parents had never seen any of it. They didn't know about my promotion, my apartment, my friends, my book club, my morning runs. They didn't know who I was beyond the girl who said yes when they needed money. $10,000. They wanted $10,000 from the daughter they'd forgotten was born. But they were about to learn that forgetting me was going to cost them far more than they'd ever imagined. That evening, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and a cup of tea growing cold beside me. The apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on Main Street. Outside my window, Cedar Falls was settling into its evening rhythm, but inside, I was about to confront a truth I'd been avoiding for years. I opened a new spreadsheet and titled it The Family Bank Account Balance. Starting with my online banking records, I began scrolling backward through years of transactions. Each transfer to my parents' account was like a small wound reopening. Each emergency loan that had never been repaid was a reminder of my own foolish hope that this time would be different. January 2025, $800, Dad's knee surgery. October 2024, $1, $200. Ethan's car insurance, July 2024, $2,000. Mom's dental emergency, April 2024, $1, $500. Late mortgage payment, December 2023, $3,000. Ethan's college tuition. The numbers blurred together as I kept scrolling, kept adding, kept remembering. Each entry came with its own story, its own urgent phone call, its own promise that this was temporary, that they'd pay me back as soon as things got better. September 2023, $900, car repair their previous car. June 2023, $200, property tax surprise. February 2023, $1, $800, mom's medical bills. November 2022, $1, $100, Ethan's laptop for college. August 2022, $2,500, investment opportunity for Dad. By the time I reached 2019, when I'd first started tracking my expenses religiously, the total was staggering. $26,400. Over 8 years. I'd given my family more than $26,000 in loans that had never been loans at all. They'd been tithes to a family that saw me as their personal ATM. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the number on my screen. $26,400. That was nearly my entire emergency fund. That was a down payment on a house. That was a new car. That was 2 years of living expenses. That was my security, my independence, my future handed over piece by piece to people who couldn't remember when I was born. But the money was only part of the story. I opened another tab and began documenting what I could remember about my own sacrifices during those same years. While I was giving Ethan $3,000 for his college tuition in December 2023, I was eating ramen noodles for dinner and skipping my book club's holiday party because I couldn't afford the potluck contribution. While I was covering Dad's knee surgery in January, I was driving my Honda Civic with a rattling exhaust pipe I couldn't afford to fix. While I was paying for Mom's dental work in July, I was canceling my own dental cleaning because the budget was too tight. I thought about Ethan, 28 years old and still living in our childhood bedroom, still eating Mom's cooking, still having his laundry done, still being driven around in the SUV that I was now being asked to repair. He'd graduated college debt-free thanks to my contributions. while I was still paying off my own student loans. He had the latest iPhone, the newest gaming console, designer clothes, all subsidized by parents who had money to spend on their favorite child because their other child was quietly funding their lifestyle. The contrast was so stark it took my breath away. I'd been working since I was 16, had held 3 jobs in college, had moved to a different state to build my own life. I lived modestly, saved religiously, planned for the future. Meanwhile, Ethan had been given everything, including the luxury of being loved without conditions, remembered without reminders, valued without producing a bank statement. I pulled up my car insurance app and looked at my 12-year-old Honda Civic. 153,000 miles. The air conditioning only worked on the highest setting. The passenger door handle was broken. The radio occasionally cut out when I hit bumps. But it was paid off, and I couldn't justify replacing it when there were always family emergencies that needed funding. Then I Googled 2022 Cadillac SUV price and nearly choked on my tea. Their car, the one I was supposed to help repair, had cost more than I made in an entire year. They were driving around in a $70,000 vehicle while I was driving a car that was probably worth less than the repair estimate they'd sent me. But even that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing that in all these years of financial emergencies, not once had they asked me about my own situation. Not once had they wondered if I could afford to help. Not once had they considered that their independent, successful daughter might have her own financial goals, her own dreams, her own emergencies. When my laptop died in 2022 and I needed it for work, I'd quietly used my credit card and paid it off over 6 months. When I got food poisoning and missed 3 days of work without pay, I dipped into my savings and said nothing. When my rent increased last year and I had to choose between moving or cutting my grocery budget in half, I'd eaten a lot of rice and beans and never mentioned it to anyone, because I'd learned early that in my family, my problems weren't really problems. My struggles weren't worth discussing. My needs weren't urgent. I was the reliable one, the successful one, the one who had her life together. And people who have their lives together don't need help, they give it. I added a new column to my spreadsheet, what I gave up. Next to each payment, I wrote what I'd sacrificed to make it possible. $800 dad's surgery, canceled vacation to Utah, $1, $200 Ethan's insurance, postponed new winter coat, wore old one with broken zipper $2,000 mom's dental, skipped professional development conference, $1, $500 mortgage, lived on pasta and canned soup for 2 months. The pattern was clear and devastating. Every time my family had a crisis, I quietly absorbed the cost not just financially, but personally. I'd been making myself smaller, taking up less space, needing less, so that they could maintain their lifestyle and their illusions. By 11:30 p.m., I had a complete picture of 8 years of financial abuse disguised as family loyalty. $26,000, $400 given, $0 repaid, countless sacrifices made, endless gratitude expected, and now they wanted $10,000 more. From the daughter they'd forgotten existed until they needed her bank account. I saved the spreadsheet and titled it, The True Cost of Being Forgotten. Tomorrow, I would decide what to do with this information. Tonight, I would sit with the brutal clarity of seeing my family for what they really were, people who had monetized my love and packaged my devotion into a business model that had been working perfectly for years, but not anymore. The bank of Hannah Reynolds was about to close permanently, and the withdrawal fees were going to be higher than they ever imagined. The revelation came 3 days later through my cousin Sarah, Mom's sister's daughter who lived in Denver and had always been the family gossip dispatcher. We'd stayed in touch sporadically over the year's holiday cards, the occasional Facebook like, a text when one of us got promoted or moved. She was one of the few family members who actually seemed to remember I existed. Her call came on Sunday morning at 9:45 a.m., while I was having coffee and planning my weekly grocery run. Hannah. How was your birthday last week? Did your parents do anything special? The innocent question hit me like a slap. Of course, Sarah remembered my birthday. She'd even sent a text with cake emojis on the actual day. but her assumption that my parents had celebrated with me revealed just how deeply they'd been performing their family charade for everyone else. They didn't remember, I said simply. What, that's impossible. Your mom was posting about birthday planning on Facebook just last week. She bought this gorgeous cake from that fancy bakery on. Sarah stopped mid-sentence. Oh no. Hannah, please tell me you're joking. What cake? What are you talking about? I could hear Sarah typing furiously in the background, probably pulling up Facebook on her laptop. Hannah, oh God, your mom posted all these pictures of this beautiful birthday celebration, and I just assumed. My hands started shaking. Sarah, what pictures? I'm going to send them to you, but Hannah, I need you to know that I had no idea. If I'd known they didn't include you, I would have said something. I would have called you myself. My phone buzzed with incoming photos. The first one made my stomach drop. It was my family mom, Dad, and Ethan gathered around our old dining room table in Denver, the same table where we'd eaten countless dinners during my childhood, where I'd done homework while Mom cooked, where we'd played board games on snow days. But now it was decorated with balloons and streamers in blue and silver, Ethan's favorite colors. The centerpiece was an elaborate chocolate cake with Happy 28th Birthday, Ethan, written in flowing script, professional quality photography, probably taken with Dad's new camera that I'd unknowingly helped finance through their various emergencies. Everyone was smiling, laughing, looking like the perfect family they'd always pretended to be. The caption on Mom's post read, "Celebrating our birthday boy. So grateful for this complete family and all the joy Ethan brings to our lives. Blessed Mom. Family first. Birthday boy. Complete family." The words burned like acid. I scrolled through more photos Sarah had sent. Ethan opening presents, expensive ones, a new laptop, designer clothes, what looked like a gaming chair that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Mom and Dad beaming with pride as their baby boy unwrapped gift after gift. Then came the group photos. The Reynolds family, according to the tags. 3 people. 3 people who apparently constituted the complete Reynolds family, according to the woman who'd given birth to me 32 years ago. But it got worse. The final photo Sarah sent was a screenshot of their family group chat, a chat I'd apparently never been added to. The messages were from the day before Ethan's birthday, with Mom coordinating the celebration. Mom, make sure you're here by 2 p.m. for cake. I want to get good photos for Facebook. Dad, got the new camera ready. This will be perfect. Ethan, can we invite the Millers? They always ask about our family events. Mom, of course I love showing off my boys. Such a blessing to have my whole family together. My whole family. Her whole family was 3 people, and I wasn't one of them. I called Sarah back, my voice barely functioning. When was this? March 22nd, last Sunday. Hannah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea Ethan's birthday is March 22nd, and yours is March 15th. So I just thought maybe they were doing a joint celebration or something. March 22nd, 1 week after my forgotten birthday. They'd thrown an elaborate party for Ethan. Professional cake, expensive gifts, family photos, social media celebration. Everything I'd spent my birthday hoping for, dreaming about, quietly mourning the absence of they'd given to him just 7 days later. Sarah, I said, my voice strange and hollow. How long has this been going on? The posts about their complete family. Another pause. More typing. Hannah, I'm looking through your mom's Facebook now, and oh, honey, I think you need to see this. More screenshots arrived. Years of family photos, Christmases, Thanksgivings, Easter dinners, vacation pictures. 3 people in every single one. Mom, Dad, and Ethan. Captions about being grateful for my beautiful family and blessed with these 2 amazing men in my life. Not one photo included me. Not one caption mentioned a daughter. It was as if I'd been systematically erased from the family history, cropped out of their public narrative. They'd been presenting themselves as a family of 3 for years, and I'd been too busy working, too busy building my own life, too busy sending them money to notice. The worst part, Sarah continued quietly, is that some of these photos? Hannah, I know you were at some of these events. I remember you being at Christmas 2 years ago, and Thanksgiving before that. But in the photos they posted, I was already pulling up Mom's Facebook page, scrolling through years of carefully curated family happiness. And Sarah was right. I could remember some of these occasions standing just outside the frame, taking the photos for them, or simply being edited out entirely. Christmas 2023, I'd driven down to Denver, brought presents, helped cook dinner, but the family photos showed just the 3 of them by the tree, with a caption about Christmas magic with my 2 favorite people. Thanksgiving 2022. I'd been there, had made the cranberry sauce Mom always raved about. But somehow, the photos only captured the thankful trio as Dad had captioned it. I found one photo where I could actually see part of my arm in the background, holding a casserole dish, but I'd been cropped out so carefully that it just looked like a floating sleeve. They'd literally edited me out of their family memories. Hannah, are you still there? I'm here. But I wasn't. Really. I was somewhere else entirely, in a place where the family I'd been financially supporting for 8 years had been publicly pretending I didn't exist, where the people I'd sacrificed for had turned me into a ghost in my own family story. The comment sections, I whispered, suddenly understanding. Sarah, look at the comment sections. Do people ask about me? Silence. Then, sometimes, Mrs. Patterson from your old neighborhood asked about you last Christmas. Your mom replied that you were busy with your own life and couldn't make it this year. But Hannah, you were there. I know you were there because you posted a story from their kitchen. My own life. As if I'd chosen to be absent from a family that had actively erased me from their narrative while simultaneously depending on my bank account to fund their lifestyle. I was supporting people who were ashamed of my existence, embarrassed by my presence, committed to pretending I'd never been born except when they needed money. Then suddenly, I mattered. Then suddenly, I was family again. Then suddenly, I was their daughter who'd always been responsible with money and could help them out. The cruelty was breathtaking, the calculation of it, the years of careful editing, strategic cropping, deliberate exclusion, all while knowing I'd answer the phone when they called asking for cash. Sarah, I said, surprised by how calm my voice sounded. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to screenshot everything and send it to me. Every family post, every caption, every comment. I need documentation of how long they've been erasing me. Hannah, what are you going to do? For the first time in days. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. I'm going to remind them that I exist, and then I'm going to show them what it actually costs to forget someone. I waited until Monday evening at 7:30 p.m. to call prime family time when they'd be settling in after dinner, probably watching television together in the living room I'd helped furnish with my emergency loans. I wanted my timing to be deliberate, calculated. This wasn't going to be an emotional outburst. This was going to be a reckoning. Mom answered on the second ring, her voice bright and welcoming. Hannah, sweetheart, I'm so glad you called. We were just talking about you. Have you had a chance to think about the car situation? The mechanic is pressuring us for an answer. Did you have a nice party last week? I interrupted. Silence. Then a confused laugh. Party? What party? Honey. Ethan's birthday party, March 22nd. The one with the professional cake and the family photos. The one where you celebrated your complete family. The silence stretched longer this time. I could hear the television in the background, some sitcom with a laugh track that felt obscene given the conversation we were about to have. Hannah, how did you... Facebook. Mom, your Facebook page where you've been documenting your beautiful family of 3 for years, your blessed life with your 2 favorite people, your posts about being grateful for your whole family. I heard the remote click, silencing the TV. Then Dad's voice in the background. "What's wrong? What's she saying?" "Put me on speaker," I said. "I want both of you to hear this." A shuffling sound. Then Dad's voice came through more clearly. "Ha, Hannah. What's this about?" "It's about the fact that you threw my brother an elaborate birthday party one week after completely forgetting mine. It's about the fact that you've been erasing me from your family photos for years while simultaneously treating me like your personal bank account. It's about the fact that you're asking me for $10,000 while publicly pretending I don't exist." "Now wait just a minute," Dad started. "No, you wait. Do you know what I did on my birthday? I sat in my apartment and checked my phone 17 times, hoping for a single text message from my own parents. Do you know what you did on my birthday? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You couldn't even remember the day I was born." "Hannah, we explained that we've been stressed about the car," Mom began. "But you weren't too stressed to plan Ethan's party, were you? You weren't too stressed to buy him expensive gifts, or order a professional cake, or invite the neighbors to celebrate your complete family. You just forgot you had a daughter. Again." I pulled up the spreadsheet I'd created, my financial documentation of 8 years of abuse. "Let me ask you something. Do you know how much money I've given you since 2017? Another silence. $26,400. That's how much I've transferred to your accounts over 8 years. Emergency after emergency. Crisis after crisis. And do you know how much you've paid back? Hannah, zero. Not $1, not 1 penny. You've taken $26,000 from me and repaid me with a forgotten birthday and family photos that pretend I don't exist." Dad's voice was getting angry now. "That's not fair, Hannah. We've always been grateful. Grateful you call erasing me from your family narrative. Grateful you call forgetting my birthday. Grateful you call asking me for $10,000 more while publicly celebrating your complete family. Grateful. We don't owe you anything," Dad snapped. And there it was, the truth beneath all the pretty words about family and gratitude. "We raised you. We fed you. We put a roof over your head for 18 years. If you chose to help us out financially as an adult, that was your choice." The words hit me like a physical blow, but also like a gift. Finally, honesty. Finally, the truth about how they really saw our relationship. "You're right," I said, my voice eerily calm. "It was my choice. And now I'm making a different choice." "What does that mean?" Mom asked, worry creeping into her voice for the first time. "It means the Bank of Hannah is permanently closed. It means when your next emergency comes, and we both know it will, you'll have to figure it out without me. It means I'm done being the invisible daughter who only matters when you need money." "You're being ridiculous," Dad said. "We're family." "No, we're not." The words came out strong and clear, surprising even me with their certainty. Family doesn't forget birthdays. Family doesn't erase each other from photos. Family doesn't take $26,000 and then act like they're doing you a favor by accepting it. Hannah, you're upset, but you're not thinking clearly. Mom tried. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. I'm thinking about how I've been eating ramen noodles so you could pay for Ethan's car insurance. I'm thinking about how I've been driving a 12-year-old car while contributing to your $70,000 SUV repairs. I'm thinking about how I canceled vacations and conferences and dental appointments so you could maintain your lifestyle. My voice was rising now, 8 years of suppressed resentment finally finding its way out. I'm thinking about how you raised one child to be independent and responsible, and another child to be spoiled and entitled. I'm thinking about how you taught me that love was conditional on my usefulness, while teaching him that he was valuable just for existing. "That's not true," Mom started. "Isn't it? When was the last time you called just to check on me? When was the last time you asked about my job, my friends, my happiness? When was the last time you treated me like a daughter instead of a loan officer?" Silence. "I'll tell you when. Never. You've never called just to talk. You've never asked about my life unless you needed something. You've never treated me like I mattered beyond my bank account balance. Hannah, please. Mom's voice was smaller now, almost pleading. We love you. No, you don't. You love what I provide. You love my financial stability. You love having an emergency fund with legs. But you don't love me, because if you did, you'd remember when I was born. You'd include me in your family photos. You'd call me just to hear my voice. The silence stretched on, filled with 32 years of unspoken truths and broken promises. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice steady and cold. You're going to figure out your car situation without me. You're going to face your next emergency without my money. And you're going to explain to your friends and neighbors why your complete family is suddenly missing its personal ATM. Hannah, don't do this, Dad said. Don't throw away your family over money. I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. I'm not throwing away my family, Dad. You already did that. I'm just finally accepting it. I hung up the phone and turned it off completely. For the first time in 8 years, I felt free. That night, I barely slept. Not from anxiety or regret, but from the electric energy of purpose. For years, I'd been carrying their secrets, protecting their reputation, enabling their narrative. They'd built their perfect family image on my silence, funded their lifestyle with my compliance, maintained their social standing while systematically erasing me from their story. But silence was a choice, and I was done choosing it. By 6 a.m., I was at my kitchen table with my laptop, 3 cups of coffee, and a plan that would make them wish they'd remembered my birthday. First, I compiled everything. The financial records were already organized, 8 years of emergency loans, totaling $26,400. Every transfer, every desperate phone call, every broken promise to pay me back. I had bank statements, email requests, text message screenshots, a paper trail of exploitation disguised as family loyalty. Then came the social media evidence Sarah had sent. Years of Facebook posts showing their complete family of 3. Birthdays, holidays, vacations, all documented with captions about being blessed with my 2 favorite people and grateful for this whole family. I counted the posts' 47 family photos over 5 years. I appeared in exactly 0 of them. But the most damning evidence was what I found when I started digging deeper. Using my professional research skills from Riverstone Consulting, I traced their social media patterns, their financial behavior, their public statements about family values. Dad had a LinkedIn profile where he regularly posted about teaching children responsibility and the importance of family values. One post from last year had gone semi-viral in his professional network. As a father, I believe in raising children who understand that success comes from hard work and self-reliance. Too many parents enable their children instead of empowering them. I'm proud to say both my children have learned to stand on their own 2 feet. Both his children. The irony was breathtaking. While publicly praising independence, he'd been privately taking thousands from the daughter he'd taught to be self-reliant. Mom's Facebook was even worse. She was part of several parenting groups where she regularly gave advice about raising successful children. Her comments were filled with wisdom about letting your kids struggle so they learn to be strong and not rescuing your children from every problem. She'd even shared an article about toxic family dynamics with the comment, "So important to maintain healthy boundaries with adult children. They need to learn that the bank of mom and dad is closed." The bank of mom and dad was closed for Ethan. For me, it had apparently been a limitless credit line. But my favorite discovery was Mom's Pinterest board titled Empty Nest Wisdom. It was filled with pins about thriving when your children leave home and enjoying life after kids move out. The description read, "Celebrating this beautiful season of life with my husband and our youngest. Finally time for us. Finally time for them." While I was sending money transfers, they were celebrating my absence. I opened a new document and began writing. Not an angry rant, not an emotional outburst, but a clear, factual account of 8 years of financial manipulation and emotional abuse. I wrote it like the market research reports I created for clients: professional, detailed, impossible to dismiss as drama. The title was simple: The True Cost of Being the Invisible Daughter. I structured it in sections: the financial reality, a complete breakdown of every dollar I'd sent, every sacrifice I'd made, every vacation I'd canceled to fund their emergencies. I included screenshots of their requests and my bank transfers, creating an undeniable pattern of exploitation. The social media deception side-by-side comparisons of their public posts about family values versus their private behavior. Dad's LinkedIn advice about teaching independence alongside bank records showing his financial dependence on me. Mom's parenting wisdom about boundaries alongside her constant boundary violations. The birthday betrayal. The complete story of my forgotten birthday versus Ethan's elaborate celebration, documented with their own Facebook posts and the timeline of events. The family photo evidence. A gallery showing years of family photos that systematically excluded me, with analysis of the captions that redefined their family as a unit of 3. But I didn't stop there. I created a video. I set up my phone on my kitchen counter and spoke directly to the camera. No tears, no shouting, no hysterics. Just the calm, clear voice of a woman who'd finally seen her family for what they really were. "My name is Hannah Reynolds," I began. "I'm 32 years old, and I live in Cedar Falls, Colorado. Last week, my parents forgot my birthday. This week, they asked me for $10,000 to fix their car. This is the story of how I became my family's personal ATM and what happened when I finally decided to close the account." I told the whole story: the forgotten birthday, the immediate request for money, the years of financial support, the social media erasure, the calculated cruelty of celebrating Ethan while forgetting me. I showed the evidence, read the numbers, displayed the screenshots. My voice never wavered. This wasn't revenge porn or family drama. This was testimony. This was truth-telling. This was a woman documenting abuse and calling it what it was. For 8 years, I concluded, looking directly into the camera, I believed that family meant unconditional support. I believed that love meant sacrifice. I believed that being a good daughter meant saying yes every time they needed help. But family that only remembers you when they need money isn't family. It's exploitation with a blood relation. The video was 12 minutes long. I watched it twice, making sure it was exactly what I wanted to say. Then I uploaded it to YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I tagged my parents, my brother, my cousins, our family friends, my parents' co-workers, the neighbors who'd attended Ethan's birthday party. But I saved the best for last. I shared it in every local Facebook group in Denver, every parenting group Mom belonged to, every professional network Dad was part of. I posted it in Cedar Falls community pages too, so my friends and co-workers would understand why I might seem different in the coming weeks. The caption was simple: sometimes the truth is the only gift worth giving yourself. Family. First, Know Your Worth, Financial Abuse, by 8:30 a.m. The video had been posted across every platform, shared to every relevant group, sent to every person who'd ever seen my parents' complete family photos and wondered where their daughter was. Now they would know. Now everyone would know the price of being forgotten by the people who were supposed to love you most. And now my parents were about to learn that some debts come due in ways they never expected. The response was immediate and devastating. By 10 a.m., my phone was buzzing with notifications I couldn't see because I'd kept it turned off. When I finally powered it on at noon, I had 67 missed calls, 143 text messages, and more voicemail notifications than my phone could display. The video had gone viral in our small Denver community. Shares, comments, reactions, all from people who'd known my family for years and were seeing the truth for the first time. Friends of my parents, co-workers, neighbors, church members, everyone who'd been fed the complete family narrative was now seeing the receipts. The comments were brutal. "I always wondered where Hannah was in family photos. This is heartbreaking." Richard, You literally gave a speech at work about teaching kids independence while taking money from your daughter. Sharon, how could you write all those posts about boundaries when you were doing this to your own child? $26,000. That's not family support, that's financial abuse. But the most devastating comments came from people who knew Ethan. Wait, so Hannah paid for Ethan's college tuition. I thought you guys were covering it. He's been bragging about having no student loans while his sister was sacrificing for him. This explains so much about Ethan's lifestyle. I always wondered how he afforded everything while not working full-time. My cousin Sarah texted me, "The whole family is in chaos. Aunt Linda is calling your mom demanding answers. Uncle Tom said he's disgusted. Everyone's talking about it." But the best response came at 2:15 p.m. when my phone rang with a call from Ethan. For the first time in years, my brother was calling me directly. Hannah. His voice was shaky, uncertain. I didn't know. About the tuition, about the money. Mom and Dad told me it was their savings. They said they'd been planning for my college since I was born. I stayed silent, letting him process. $26,000. You really gave them that much. When I confirmed it, he was quiet for a long moment. Hannah, I'm so sorry. I had no idea I thought you were just successful and didn't need anything. I thought you chose to stay away because you were too busy with your career. They made sure you thought that, I said simply. The birthday thing. Hannah, I swear I didn't know they forgot your birthday. They never mentioned it, never said anything about missing it. If I'd known, would you have said something? Would you have called me yourself? Another long pause. I don't know. Maybe I should have. I should have been calling you anyway, birthday or not. I've been a terrible brother. It was the first real conversation we'd had in years, and it was happening because I'd finally forced the truth into the light. The fallout continued for days. My parents' calls became increasingly frantic, then angry, then desperate. Dad left a voicemail accusing me of destroying the family and airing private business. Mom sent a text saying I was cruel and vindictive and that she never raised me to be so selfish. But the most revealing response came from their neighbors, their friends, their community. The video had shattered their carefully constructed image, and people were reassessing years of interactions through this new lens. Mrs. Patterson, our old neighbor, commented, "I asked about Hannah at Christmas and you said she was too busy with her own life. But she was right there helping in the kitchen. You lied to my face." Dad's LinkedIn post about teaching independence had dozens of new comments, all linking to my video. His professional reputation was in ruins. Mom got kicked out of 2 parenting groups for giving advice while practicing the opposite. But the real justice came when practical consequences followed. Without their personal ATM, they had to face their first real financial crisis in years. The car repairs they'd assumed I would cover became their problem to solve. They had to take out a loan at high interest rates, sell some of Dad's tools, ask Ethan to contribute to household expenses for the first time in his adult life. Ethan actually called me again a week later. "They asked me to pay for groceries this month," he said, sounding bewildered. "I've never had to pay for anything here. I don't even know how much things cost." Welcome to adulthood, I thought. But I kept it to myself. 3 weeks after the video went live, I received one final call from Mom. Her voice was different, smaller, defeated. "Hannah," she said quietly, "I've been thinking about what you said, about us only calling when we need money, and I looked back through my phone records, 5 years of calls to you, and every single one was asking for something." I waited. "I don't know how to fix this," she admitted. "I don't know how to be your mother instead of your whatever I was. But I want to try. Not for money. Not for anything. Just because I miss my daughter." It was the first time in my adult life that she'd called me her daughter without a financial request attached. "It's going to take time." "Mom," I said. "A lot of time. And it starts with you figuring out how to remember I exist when you don't need anything." I understand, she said. I know I have no right to ask, but could we try? Could we start over somehow? The conversation that followed was the most honest we'd ever had. No money requests, no fake cheerfulness, no performance of family happiness. Just two people trying to figure out if there was anything real left between them. I don't know if my family will ever be truly repaired. I don't know if my parents will ever fully understand the damage they caused. But I know this. I will never again be someone's silent ATM. I will never again sacrifice my worth for people who can't remember my value. The bank of Hannah Reynolds is permanently closed, and for the first time in my life, I'm investing in myself. Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting, even it's getting free. Thank you so much for listening to Hannah's story. I hope it resonated with you and maybe gave you some perspective on the importance of knowing your worth in family relationships. I'd love to hear from you. Where are you listening from today? Have you ever experienced anything similar with family or friends who only seem to remember you when they need something? Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation about setting boundaries and demanding the respect we deserve. Don't forget to subscribe if this story moved you, and please share your own thoughts and experiences. Together, we can support each other in recognizing our worth and refusing to accept less than we deserve.